Welcome back to Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Anime Review, episode number 31. This I'm viewing the 31st episode, I think it's the 46th episode series, Lambtion Omen. Yes, that's basically the name of this episode. Yeah. Now, this episode does cover the second half of Chapter 3 and goes through pretty much the entirety of Chapter 4. Now, there is one small bit here I did notice while I was rereading the book. They did cut here, and it's basically Belle checking on Juna's arm wound. Yeah, they actually cut that out of the anime. It's a small line, but doesn't really affect anything at all. So, we pick up exactly what left last week. So, Lou asks Belle to leave. He doesn't say anything at all. He asks her two questions. So you want who chopped off his arm? She says, yes, I also have his ear as well. He also asks her a question about the dead guy who she's accused of murdering. And at first she says, I don't want to talk. And she says, just leave. And of course she asks him, did you kill him? He's like, no, I did not kill him. She wounded him, yes, but she didn't kill him. Like, okay, cool. Got her word. So yeah, then he points out, though, that the arm wound that the guy got is actually an old wound. Not a recent wound, an old one. He did it himself. So yeah, this whole thing was nothing more than a big fat lie. And the guy Turk, who basically spurred this whole thing, that was his bud, is basically his friend. So he planned this whole thing to get rid of Lou. And by the way, he was revealed to be a distraction at the end, which I'll get to more of that. So yeah, then they start finding him, and then all of a sudden it's revealed, oh yeah, he's a monster tamer who summons a giant snake called a Lambtion. One of two you see the episode. The other, of course, is seen by Lily's group, who figures out though that they figure out from their end what really is going on, and they take on the giant snake, and of course they take on a crystal graveyard. So, excuse me, they use like arrows and a bunch of other stuff. They use level boost on Wolf and the other guy. And then eventually, of course, the creature's defeated. And in the case of one that Lou and Belle basically fight, they've had this one for quite a while. Then, of course, basically, like, of course, oh yeah, his connection to Chronotos. There's even a brief appearance by Phelps in this episode. Yes, the guy who's known as Phelps the Fool, because he's an immortal skeleton. He finds more cages. Yeah, more follow-up from the events of the previous season. Now, here's the strange thing. There's no mention of the Xanatos. Despite like there's frequent mentions of them in basically chapters 3 and 4, all mentions of them are completely cut from the anime. Not really sure why the Xanatos mentions are cut, especially since that does play a small role with what goes on here. But for some reason, no mentions of them. Yeah, that was the big thing I thought was weird they got cut, was basically any mention of the Xanatos. Well, my theory, the reason why is, and this is just my personal theory, I think some people didn't like Season 3 very much. Well, the pacing of it. The fact that JC Staff probably regrets the pacing of the season, and they're trying to excise any mention of the Xanatos. They probably also felt as though the Xanatos, the whole purpose of them was ruining the show, so any mention of them, except we have Xanatos physically appear, could have come from the anime. Yes. Though I still think the biggest mistake they made so far, this whole entire season so far, was cutting Belle's scene with Hermes. That scene was cut for some reason. I'm not really sure why. There was a scene with him cut from the start of book 12. And for some reason, that whole scene was cut for no reason. I've not heard the reason for it. So, in the case of this, yeah, Vel, of course, is stuck to Orcakos. He's the chief of the gods who does not move who does not leave his own room. He's not actually allowed to, despite the fact he's a freaking titan. He could, but he doesn't want to. So, yeah, after Belle and Lou take care of the monster there, then of course basically The guy goes, "Oh yeah, I'm a distraction because the other buds planning these explosives they hint at from the last episode along this path, which looks like the same path that Bell and his group went on just a few episodes back." And I'm like, wow, it's a good thing they show this group. They all of a sudden they explode, and then something. Oh, by the way, it's also the Lambtion actually was what created that giant hole in the ceiling. Yep. And then, of course, we have the big thing we've been teasing the whole time, the whole episode, a few mentions of it. This despair, this evil creature that's deep inside the labyrinth that was awakened via massive amount of explosions. And they always refer to it as the Great Despair. And there's also hints of the Great Disaster. No, not DC's Great Disaster. Oh no. Cassandra has been teasing about this disaster thanks to a vision she had where everybody's all dead and everybody's covered in blood and all dead. And Belle is not there, though Alicia's there. So this is probably what she's been teasing for a little while now. I would probably say this has probably been teased for about several episodes. They've probably been teasing this as the start of the adaptation of this arc, where they tease this great disaster, and basically we're trying to prevent it. Like, this can't be it, and turns out that's not really it. The snake was not the cause of the whole thing. It was this creature that's coming out of the walls. What this creature is, we'll find out next week. But yeah, that's it for this particular video. It's an excellent episode. So I still kind of think that's kind of dumb that the cutting all mentions of Xanatos. Yes. And I do also have another theory on that. That's how like the flack that I think some people didn't like the creatures at all. I think that was possibly a theory. I think that the JC staff probably got complaints about the Xanatos and the fact that it was implying that the third season was implying Belle would want to have sex with a monster. Yeah, it's like he was. It's like the people were probably also implying that too. Promotion of monster sex. That's possible, aside from the fact that Weenie probably liked Belle. Aside from that, I don't think Belle was ever interested in having sex with her. I mean, based on the way the animation was presenting it, it seemed like there was implied there could be sex between two of them. But no, nothing came of it. And I do mean nothing. That is another possible reason why that they're not mentioning the Xanatos. Probably because also they don't like intelligent monsters in this series. People are fans of the series. It's possible, but I'm just spitballing here. Like, this is just possible theories I have. If this proved to be true, fine. I proved that I'm correct about JC's stat. They actually cut the stuff due to critical backlash. That's possible, to say the least. But who knows? If anybody could tell me the reason why the any mention of the Xanatos a lot of the time is being cut, please let us off in the comments below. Okay? So yeah, that's it. Sick of you. Next up is going to be One Piece. Then Case Closed, then Boruto, and then and then we start up Go Ranger. Okay? Next video. Bye.